Jungle.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Raymar Kier Ara Gonzalez, and today we're going to discuss about the risk and safety management in physical education. In school-based physical education programs, teachers tasked to identify, assess, manage, and communicate risk and safety, and balance this with other pedagogical concerns is complex. Teachers' knowledge is essential in generating quality physical education, and their specialized knowledge of risk and safety management is crucial for creating safe learning environments and educative opportunities for students. Combining risk strategies in teaching physical education. There is potential to extend the current understanding of risk and safety management practices in physical education by conferring risk strategy typology. Primarily, the typology differentiates between three types of risk strategy. So these are the rational risk strategy, in-between risk strategy, and the non-rational risk strategy. Rational risk strategy derived from an instrumental reasoning of direct management and control of risk. They might therefore be rational for professions, recognized for their specialized knowledge, and technical skills anchored in a scientific and theoretical knowledge base. Assuming that some risk may be predictable and controllable, general or abstract principles might be pulled out and applied to address risk and uncertainty in physical education. Hence, applying the correct method might be expected to solve the problem in some respects. Teachers may deliberately use risk matrices and checklists to assess and determine courses of action in their teaching, and might be necessary for teachers to grasp risk in physical education because the transformation of uncertainty into probability enables us to deal with uncertainty as if we had knowledge. There thus are reports on teachers using safety guidelines in their physical education teaching, for example. However, the degree of potential certainty is contested, and in physical education, it might be complicated to calculate or foresee the actions of students or every outcome of sports and play. A dilemma of risk analysis also relates to the ratings of likelihood and consequence, as they might be subject to a high degree of variation and merely subjective guesses. Thus, the rational strategies might be appropriate for some conditions or elements in physical education, where causes and outcomes may be accessible for teachers, while other aspects of risk might be overlooked or disregarded. The in-between strategies may be therefore complement rational strategies in teachers' risk and safety management practice, addressing other dimensions and concerns with risk in physical education. The other one is in-between risk strategy. In-between strategies seem to be characteristic of the situational and practical reasoning of professionals' risk work. Drawing on experience, teachers' tacit knowing and knowing in action might enhance the use of in-between strategies in physical education. As a result, there might not be any explicit methods or system thinking behind teachers' risk judgment in practice, but ongoing reasoning and action characteristics of professional discretion. As feelings and affect may guide actors' risk decisions, emotions, intuition, and trust might be just as reasonable in dealing with risk and uncertainty in some respects. Teachers' concerns in physical education might generate common risk and safety management practices. For an example, the fear of adverse consequences, students' safety, or liability might lead to risk-averse teaching practices in physical education. However, in-between and non-rational strategies are often used in combination and might be crucial for teachers in balancing their risk and safety management practice. The non-rational risk strategy. The use of non-rational strategies relies more on attitude than knowledge and hope. Ideology and belief might complement to the other risk strategy in teachers' practices. However, risk in physical education is not necessarily equal to danger, but also resonates with an adventure concept and is framed as an opportunity for learning. as uncertainty might generate educative experiences. While the risk strategy typology seems to focus on managing adverse to consequence, teachers' non-rational strategies might also draw on the risk benefits of actively engaging with risk to enhance something. Thus, teachers' risk and safety management practices might contain an element of active risk-taking or making, and the more passive acceptance of risk due to lack of means. However, the key question pertains to the skill and experience one needs to decide about the appropriate combination of strategies to use in a particular situation. This aspect of practice might be contingent on how teachers' institutional environments support the different approaches to risk. These uses and mixtures of these strategies might therefore depend on both the character of the risk problem and conditions of their implementation. Investigation of physical education teachers' risk and safety management practices through their perspectives may increase understanding of physical education teachers' risk strategies in practice. This is of vital understanding since it ultimately may have an effect on students' educative and risk experiences in physical education. By exploring teachers' risk and safety management practices in physical education, this may contribute to the field of physical education practice by investigating two questions. What characterizes teachers' risk and safety management practice in physical education? And how do teachers relate their practice to risk and safety management? So we have here also the risk and safety management planning. It is important to remember that all physical activities have elements of risk and that the level of safety concerns varies from one activity to the next. Engaging in any physical activity safely requires an understanding of the inherent risks and taking the necessary steps to minimize or eliminate their potential impact. Part of the risk management process also involves understanding the emergency actions and procedures to be undertaken should an injury or a dangerous situation arise. The risk factors that may be involved during participation in physical activities include level of instruction, level of supervision, facilities or environment, equipment, clothing or footwear, and the personal and other considerations. Addressing questions such as the following will help minimize the risks associated with physical activity participation and raise awareness of safety considerations and responsibilities. So the first one is the level of instruction. How much instruction will be required? Do the instructors have the necessary qualifications? Will a skills assessment to be done to determine the participants' level of ability? Level of supervision. What level of supervision will be required? Are emergencies procedures in place? What equipment or supplies will be required? Do the supervisors have adequate training to respond to an emergency? Facilities or environment. Have the potential hazards been identified? Has the area been inspected? Does the facility have user rules? Are any modifications or restrictions required? Will precautions be needed based upon the environment? The next one is the equipment. Has the equipment been inspected and properly maintained? Have modifications been made to the equipment? What protective equipment should be worn? Does the equipment use require special instruction or adjustment? Then the other one is the clothing or footwear. Does the activity require special clothing or footwear? Will additional clothing be required to address environmental conditions? And the other one is the personal and other considerations. Is the activity appropriate for the physical condition of the participant? Will instruction be required? Does the participant have adequate insurance coverage? Will there be a need for special rules and responsibilities? Who is the emergency contact person? Is transportation required? So these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves before we are going to have physical education activities outside or inside our campus. So what is the importance of risk management in sports? The process of risk management can be implemented as part of a best practice management system within the sport organization and sports sector. The process enables a risk factors that might lead to injuries to be identified and the levels of risk associated with activities to be estimated and evaluated. This information can be utilized proactively by sports governing bodies and participants to identify preventive and therapeutic interventions in order to reduce the frequency of occurrence or severity of injuries within their sports. We probably didn't enter this physical education career to be an expert in legal issues. But being aware of your legal responsibilities is an excellent way to lower the chance of injury to students and legal problems to you and your school. As PE teachers, we are held to a standard of care that is designed to lower the chance of harm to our students. This standard of care can be divided in a number of specific duties. Meeting the criteria and being knowledgeable about the specific duties of care will not completely eliminate injuries, but it will significantly lower the chance of them. That is all you can do, and that is we should do. Thank you for listening. Once again, this is Raymond Kier Aro Gonzalez reporting about the risk and safety management in physical education.